welcome to Two Mad Beans Podcast. A new week, a new episode. This is our last episode for the year 2020, and I'm so happy. I have one of our frequent guests on the show. Boy, what's up?
Charlie, I do. It's been a while.
Yeah, and this is our last podcast episode for 2020.
Yes.
Thanks for supporting the movement since 2019. Next year will be our third year. God bless you for coming on the podcast every time. And the world is now talking about American election.
Yes.
And Trump, Biden, and a whole lot of issues. So today, we want to understanding a Democrat win and its effect on Black Americans. Mm-hmm. Because major part of the discussion with Americans politics is mostly focused on Black Americans and its related issues.
Yes.
And today I want us to discuss more about these particular issues concerning understanding Democrat win and its effect on Black Americans. So, can we start?
Yes, sure.
So, who is Joe Biden? Give us a brief historical background on his political career.
Joe Biden is a career politician. He's been a member of the U.S. Senate. Okay. Since 1973.
Wow.
And in 2009, Obama selected him to become his vice president. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So he's been a vice president for Obama during that time period of 2009 to 2016 when they handed power over to President Trump.
Okay.
And during his time in the Senate, he's been involved in a number of things. One that frequently comes up is the crime bill, the 1994 crime bill.
Yeah.
And then there is also one controversial thing that came up again with the confirmation of Supreme Court justices. Mm-hmm. There was a justice of the Supreme Court being confirmed, a black man, mm-hmm. Justice Thomas.
Okay.
And during that time, a lady by name Anita Hill came up that Justice Thomas and like sexually assaulted her. And it was brought before the Senate, and a lot of people feel like Joe Biden didn't really help the way they railroad the woman. Mm-hmm. It wasn't fair to women and so on and so forth. So he's been here and there. Yes.
A lot of controversial issues.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes he misspeaks. We say they are gaffes.
Yeah.
He makes all kinds of statements about minorities. Recently he said, what if you don't know whether you are supposed to vote for him, then you are not black or something like that. Yeah. So many other, he makes gaffes here and there. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. But I think most people see him as a pretty decent guy.
Okay.
He's been the senator for Delaware for a long period of time before becoming Obama's vice president.
Okay. Yeah. And his vice, Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris is should we classify her as a minority? I think she keeps bringing that up anytime people talk to her. She's of African American and then Indian heritage, if I should put it that way.
Okay.
Her mom is an Indian, and then the father is a U.S. citizen, all right, but of Jamaican descent.
Okay.
Yes. So she holds allegiance to these two minority groups, and before being selected as the vice president for Joe Biden, she was serving as the junior senator for California.
Okay.
So she was in the Senate. You know, every state has two senators. Mm-hmm. So there will be the senior one and then the junior senator. Yes, every state has two senators. So she was the junior senator for California. Mm-hmm. And before becoming a junior senator, she was the attorney general for California.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So, Kamala Harris really got her first role in politics by serving in the district attorney's office in San Francisco.
Okay.
And then later on, she became the district attorney for that office.
Okay.
And then later on, she was elevated to the post of the Attorney General of California before becoming a senator and then eventually becoming Joe Biden's vice president. But she also contested the Democrats' primaries, but she didn't do very well because a lot of black people do not find her favorable. Because when they compare her record as district attorney when she was in San Francisco and then becoming the attorney general, she doesn't seem to be on the side of African Americans. So that thing really did her in when she was looking for black support. In fact, she couldn't even make it to Iowa. So it tells you that a lot of people in the Democratic Party don't like her. A lot of people see her as Hillary 2.0. She's very, very unlikable. And she actually criticized Biden a lot. So a lot of people even wonder how she got selected to become the vice president. More especially coming from the standpoint that they have very, very serious opposing views on various policies and so on.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And sometime we had a discussion. He said at a point she didn't even identify herself as a black person. Yes,
for that thing, I wouldn't want to blame her so much. It's something that politicians they do. Okay, they support one policy today. When it goes with the flow or is going anything that will get them votes, they do that.
Okay.
So I think for a very long time she wasn't identifying as black. Maybe, who knows, probably helps her career-wise.
Okay.
And then later on, when she felt like she was in politics and then she needed a black vote, then she started identifying with the black side of her identity.
Yeah.
And the Democrats are so obsessed with identity politics, so I wouldn't be surprised. Anything that she thinks she can do to whip up some votes, she will do. We've had a lot of politicians take up one position and then walk it back later on. For instance, if you take Obama was not in favor of same-sex marriage. But I think by 2012, he had changed his stance.
Yeah.
Hillary too has walked back so many. I don't even want to get into that. Yeah. So it's something they do.
Oh, okay.
And it shouldn't come as a surprise to us if any politician does it. Because we all know that they tell a lot of lies. It's difficult to come by an authentic politician.
True.
No.
True.
Yes.
True. So give us a brief history on the Republicans and Democrat parties and why most black Americans almost every time vote for the Republicans.
Both parties more or less started in the early 1800s.
Okay.
Yes. The Republican Party was very dominant in the northern parts of the country, and then the Democrat Party was very dominant in the southern part, where we call the Confederacy, the southern states, the states that wanted to separate themselves from the Union, the secessionist states. The Democrat Party was very, very, very popular there. Now, one of the funny thing is that history, as we always say, is not black and white, because in the 1860s, the southern states, they make most of their money from cotton, by exporting cotton to France and then UK and so on. Whereas the northern states, who were much more industrialized, were also producing food on a large scale and then exporting. Now, the southern states had a lot of slaves. Okay, now if you have a slave is going to work for you for free. So imagine if you are looking at your factors of production and your labor is free. Think about how much money you make. So the southern states made a lot of money off the backs of black people. As slave owners, as land owners who are growing sugarcane, who are growing cotton, who are growing tobacco, and so on and so forth. Yes. So when the northern states started promoting the abolishment of the slave trade, they didn't like it. one of the things that they said was that as part of their conditions for being part of the union, they want their states' rights to be respected. But what are these states' rights? It is the right to continue keeping slaves and then making money off the slaves. But, with time, attitudes change, right? So in those days, when Abraham Lincoln won the presidency in the 1860s, most of the southern states, they were very furious. Most of the people that wanted slavery to be abolished were from the north.
Okay.
Whereas for the south, fine, you may say they hate black people, but it wasn't so much about the hate. It was an issue of economics. Their survival depended on growing cotton and then using free or cheap labor. Okay? So when it got to the point where those who were proposing abolishing slavery, their movement was getting to the point where the southern states couldn't take it anymore. They decided to leave the union. Okay? And a lot of people say that Abraham Lincoln was the one who got black people the freedom that they have.
Yeah.
Fine, he was able to do that, but that wasn't really his initial intention, because he said to have made remarks like, if he could keep the southern states in the union and not free even one slave, he would do it. And if he could do it with freeing all the slaves too, he would do it. But one of the reasons why it became prudent to do was that the northern states, who were mostly part of the union, realized that if they are going to win the war, they need to be able to get the black people on their side, because if the black people on the southern state side, they are going to continue supporting the war effort. So then they came out with something called the Emancipation Proclamation.
Okay.
Which more or less said that if you are a slave and you are able to run to a state which is not a southern state, or a state that allows like free slave, then that's it. You become a free man. Okay. You become free. So that's really energized the black people a lot. And then most of them even moved to go and join the union. Okay, the Union Army. Now remember, most of the people in the Union Army were Republicans. They were people from the northern states. Yeah. So during the 1860s, most of the black people were Republicans. Okay. So it's actually the Republicans that helped black people to get the freedom that they are enjoying. Okay. However, after the war, the federal government needed to find a way to keep the southern states in the union, find a way to reintegrate them, those Confederate states, to reintegrate them. So there were a number of things that were done. However, when Abraham Lincoln died and then a new president took over, this new president was a Democrat. I think it was Andrew Johnson or something like that. So he being a Democrat was quite lenient on the southern states. And during the Reconstruction period, most of the infrastructure of the southern states was destroyed during the war. Now, so during the Reconstruction, most of the efforts made by black people during that time were rolled back by the southern states. Okay. And with Andrew Johnson being in charge, he didn't do anything about it. And it actually even led to his impeachment during that time. So most of the freedoms that black people were enjoying were rolled back. And it had to take almost like 100 years, as in the 60s again, 1960s, through the 1964, 1965, like Voting Rights Act, and then Civil Rights Act and so on, for black people to really get their freedom. And in the 60s, the party that got them their freedom was the Democrat Party, because the president in power was Lyndon B. Johnson, who was a Democrat. But prior to Lyndon B. Johnson signing those acts, the Democrats had started taking steps. Through President Truman's time, they went for some conventions and so on, and they started introducing bills to help black people to get their civil rights. Yes. So most of the black people today only remember the things from the 60s. So they know that, okay, it's the Democrats that got us our civil liberties and so on. That is why most of them are so very loyal to them. So you see, it's funny. The Republicans got them the first freedom, and then a century later, it was a different
story.
Yes,
true. So, what did it for the Democrat Party this time to win the American election?
What did it for them is that, in spite of all the things that Trump did for black people, for black people, if you are somebody that doesn't respect them, no matter what you do, they will not like you. Okay, so it was reported that about 92% of the reportage on Trump was negative, even though Trump gave more money to the HBCUs, the historically black colleges. Trump gave them a lot of money than Obama. Again, Trump was also doing criminal justice reform, which Obama didn't do that much. So these are things which directly affect black people. But in spite of all this, a lot of black people don't like him. But the funny thing, even with all that, his support among black people actually increased during this election. So fine, he lost, or even though they haven't declared it, we know he has lost. He's lost, all right, but his support among black people was actually very high.
Okay.
I think within the ranges of about 20 to 30%. Okay. Whereas the first time when he ran against Hillary, he got about 8 to about 10% support from black people.
Okay.
Yes. So we can't conclude that, let's say, black people don't like him outright. So maybe is a negative press thing that really cost him the election. Okay. Aside that, too, another typical thing is the COVID-19 response. When he started out, he downplayed it. He said, "Oh, it's just some flu. It's not a big deal. You don't need to put on your mask and all those things." And he has a strong following, and most of the people, as described by the media, they follow him like a cult. So whatever he says, they believe it to be the absolute truth. And we can't blame them, because the media also lies a lot. So what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
So most people heeded to the things that he said and didn't take the necessary precautions. And today they are paying dearly for it.
Yeah.
They are paying dearly for it, because you see that the infection rate in the US is very, very, very high as compared to other countries.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So COVID-19 is really the main thing. If he was able to get the COVID-19 right, and then was also able to, they were supposed to release some monies to help people who have lost their jobs and so on. And Congress is so, I can't use the word disorganized. They've reached an impasse. Congress is not working anymore. Everybody has stuck to their guns, so they couldn't reach an agreement on how much money they should give out to people. So all those bailout money that they were supposed to give to help people who are unemployed, they couldn't agree on it. Meanwhile, people were suffering. If those things were given out, maybe it would have helped him.
Yeah.
It would have helped him. A lot of people also accuse the Democrats of playing hardball so that it will embarrass Trump, because once he's not able to get the money to people will not find him favorable and will not vote for him. Yeah. So a combination of all those things worked against him. And apart from the fact that a lot of people also don't like him personally, his personality is repulsive. A lot of people don't like it. People expect him to be presidential. When the media hits you, you don't hit them back. You keep quiet and go. But it's not in his DNA. He's the type that when you say something, he will say something back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What does this Democrat win means to Black American in terms of policies?
I don't think it means anything. I'm sorry, I have to be pessimistic. I don't think it means anything for them, because they had their own. Obama was there. Obama was in power, and it didn't change anything for them. Actually, their conditions even got worse. Okay, when corporations were being bailed out and so on, banks were being bailed out, people who lost their homes and so on, people who lost their businesses, they didn't get anything. Okay, so they actually became even poor. Okay, they became poorer than they used to be.
Okay,
so it's not going to change. The Democrat Party has been paying lip service to black people for a very, very long time. Okay, there are issues that worry black people a lot, which they want addressed. Access to health, okay, good health care, access to good schools for their kids, okay, because most of the public schools, things are not working. And you have people who take their children to what they call charter schools. They are more or less like sort of private, or they are kind of public too in some way, but they are better run. Let me put it that way. So people want their children to go to charter schools. Meanwhile, when you take your kid to a public school, things so the standard and all those things is not really that's good. And access to high-paying jobs. Okay. And then issues with the criminal justice system. Okay, a lot of black Americans feel that the justice system is against them, or they are running a two-tier justice system, because when a white person does something which is more or less of the same degree as a black person, the white person is more likely to get a favorable sentence as compared to the black person. That's the two-tier system I'm talking about.
Okay.
A typical example was in the days of the crack epidemic or the cocaine epidemic.
Yeah.
You will see that black people were getting harsher sentences for smoking crack or for taking crack as compared to their white counterparts who were just taking the cocaine in whatever form it is. Crack cocaine attracted a higher punishment, and it led to the incarceration of a lot of black people. Okay, a lot of black people. And with a lot of males out of their family system, it really worried the family, because you lose income that will go into supporting the wife and then the kids. Okay? And then there is no role model in the house to train the kids and so on. So then the kids grow up, and when they are in their teens, they fall into the same vices that took their parents to jail. So these are all things that specifically affect the black community, because they have a high incarceration rate there. Okay, so these are things that they want to see a lot of reforms for. Okay, you had a lot of black people who were sent to prison for marijuana violations and processing marijuana and so on, but now it has been legalized.
Yeah,
and a lot of people are making money off it.
Yeah,
and those who were sent in for those marijuana violations, some of them, these people are non-violent offenders, okay? And some even took very, very small amounts, but some of them are still languishing in jail.
Yeah, true.
So, honestly, I don't expect anything to change, because Biden is more or less going to implement the same policies that Obama did. Okay, they will just be paying lip service to the black people. Nothing is really going to change. If you ask me if police brutality is going to go down, I will say no. It's not going to go down. The police is still going to receive a lot of funding. They are still going to get a lot of gear, which is supposed to be used for the war front, yet police will be using them. Okay? They are still going to get all those things. And the police is still going to get away with abusing black people.
Yeah.
Somebody kills a black person and is put on administrative leave, or is fired from the force. Okay? Or is suspended without pay. That is all they get. They hardly go to prison for killing an unarmed black person.
Yeah.
So these are issues that, if the Democrat Party really want to help black people, they are going to work on.
Okay. Aside COVID, let's analyze why Trump's administration had it right and wrong with black Americans.
Yes, a lot of people, like we said earlier, a lot of people embrace the fact that he was helping the HBCUs. Okay, these historically black colleges, they were the only colleges that were accepting black people back in the day when the southern states and so on were not admitting black people into certain spaces. Yeah, you had restrooms for colored people, restrooms for whites only, and so on and so forth. There was a lot of segregation. So the black elites, they realized that they needed to come up with a way to train their own people, get them educated. That's how come some of these schools were formed. But now that everything is full-fledged, you can go wherever you want. The question is, what becomes the state of some of these institutions because they are still very, very important. But for some time now, they were lacking funding, and Trump has given them a lot of funding. So a lot of people applaud him for that. And then the criminal justice reforms that he's doing, people also like that. And then when he came, he slashed taxes. So there was an increase in employment for African Americans. The question is if they are high-paying jobs or not. But at least you'll be grateful to have a job, rather than not having any. Yeah. So he's done well in that regard. The other thing is the kind of remarks that sometimes he makes about black people and so on and so forth. And then also, he's had a run-in with black people in the past. Mm-hmm. There were some people who were accused of engaging in rape and so on somewhere in the 90s. And he actually paid for like a full-page ad that these people should be jailed and executed and so on and so on. So people haven't forgotten. Okay? So those things are there. And I think also people also like him from his showbiz days. He was around running that apprentice program. So a lot of people like him for that as well. So that's it. It's a love and hate relationship. But if you're asking me, I'll say most of it is fueled by the media. They try to blow up everything that he does. Every single mistake that he does, they blow it out of proportion. So that's really alienated a lot of people, both white and black.
Okay. With the above wrongs mentioned, do you believe the Democrats bring a better alternative to these problems?
They don't. Like I said, they are paying lip service to black people. Anytime they are asked about what black-centered policies do you have for us, they are unable to say anything. That is why a lot of black celebrities were saying recently that, look, people should hold their vote. If they are not going to give us anything for our vote, then let's hold it. Because the only time the Democrat Party finds black people important is when it's time to vote, because they need the numbers. But once the elections are done, they are snubbed. And for this particular election, a lot of black people supported this guy, Bernie Sanders.
Sanders.
Okay, but the Democrat Party was able to use some means to kick Sanders out. It wasn't a fair game. Okay, and then now Biden is in. So I don't think anything is really going to change for them that much. Anytime they are asked about black-centered policy, they say, oh, all people of color. Now they always say all people of color just so they don't have to answer specific issues relating to black people. Because people of color include black and brown people. Who are these brown people? These Latinos and so on and so forth. Yes, so they generalize everything. And the funny thing is that every particular minority seems to be doing well than the black people. Okay? And the Democrats being obsessed with identity politics. Now they are also embracing a lot of these LGBTQ issues. And they seem to be catering to these people more than black people, even though black people constitute a larger voting bloc than the LGBT people. So I think it will get to a point. They are looking at with the increase in the Latino population, they'll probably come to a point where they feel like they don't need a black vote anymore. If they are ignoring you now, what makes you think they are going to do anything for you when they don't need you anymore? Yes. So I don't predict anything is really going to change that much.
Does Kamala gives a better representation of black Americans in the White House?
She doesn't. Most people have said that the election of a number of black people into the governance system is a good example, all right, but it will not necessarily lead to an overhaul in the system for a lot of black people. You see, so just making her the vice president is not going to make any difference, unless, of course, with the way a lot of people are saying that Biden is so old and he might resign probably after a year or two in power, and then Kamala Harris will take over. Then maybe when Kamala is in the hot seat, she can decide to make some bold moves and then do something. But she's not been known for that. Her track record with black people is not very good, and it doesn't give me the confidence that she's really going to do things for people. You know, during the primaries, Tulsi Gabbard really nailed her by saying that when she was, I think, Attorney General of San Francisco or so, there was a time when this guy was supposed to have been released based on extra evidence that has come up that will exonerate the guy. Kamala decided to sit on the evidence until a court forced her to do so. Okay. So, and then also there was a point where she was like, she came out with this rule that black parents or like parents in general from low-income households who do not ensure that their kids like go to school regularly, they are going to be jailed. If somebody is already poor and struggling to make it and you jail the person, how does that help?
Yeah.
So she really, a lot of black people don't like her and don't trust her. You understand?
Yeah.
Maybe her elevation to the position of vice president is going to change her mind, so probably she will change. So it's a wait and see game.
Yeah.
But going just by her track record, I would say no.
Project 4 years of Biden administration, how it will affect black Americans. 4 years.
I really hope that most of the things that he said he's going to do, he will do them. But what are even these things that he said he's going to do? Because he didn't really say anything. He didn't say much other than the fact that, hey, I am the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah.
Okay? Because Biden is not really a good candidate. It's a terrible candidate. The person that people really want is Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Yes, but the Democrat Party won't allow it. So now Biden is in the hot seat. What is he going to do? He's been in power. He's been in politics since 1973. If he had anything to do, he would have done that by now, isn't it?
Yeah.
He has actually even run for president before in a number of years, and he didn't get far. So now that he's there, we don't know what he's going to do. And there are a lot of also allegations that he's in bed with the Chinese government. So only God knows what his administration is going to look like. But based on his track record, you know, there is an African proverb that says a leopard doesn't change its spots.
Yeah.
If he's been a certain way for like 40 years, it would be naive for anybody to think that he's going to change overnight. Yeah, unless he's pushed. The progressives in his party, they push. There are a lot of people asking for this policy, Medicare for all, or something like that. There's a health policy that Bernie Sanders was championing, Medicare for all, and a lot of people want that.
Okay. Because
you need health care.
Yeah.
Yes, but I don't think Biden is fully on board with it.
Okay.
So, and then the progressives also had a number of environmental policies that they wanted him to implement. Okay, and implementing them is going to alienate the people, the oil money people, the oil people who gave him money to do his campaign and those things. So he's not going to do that. I don't think he's going to do that. So the way and manner the whole thing is structured, if you please one group, you are definitely going to disappoint another group. So you just have to really check which voting bloc do I really want to cater to.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's going to be difficult, but let's hope things work out.
Your closing remarks.
I would say I really hope the country looks divided along political lines to the extent that there are even family members who don't talk to each other because some of their family members are supporting Trump and so on. I think everybody should have the liberty to support whoever they want without getting cancelled, without losing it. Because right now, when you take Hollywood, for instance, if somebody is a conservative, that person will be so terrified to come out and say, I'm a conservative. You will never work there again.
Yeah,
because all of them are leftist. They support these leftist policies, gay rights, and so on and so forth. Yes, those are the things that they do. So the country is so divided. So it's my hope that as Biden comes into power, he is going to really unite the party. The political tension is going to go down a bit.
Okay.
And then the country will move forward.
Okay.
Yes.
So thanks so much for coming on the podcast, Bonti. This is our last episode for the year 2020, and we are grateful to all our listeners for sticking with us throughout the year. It has been a challenging year with COVID and other issues, and God willing, next year, season 3, to be much better and fun. And we hope to have people like Bonti on the show to share more knowledge and also teach us certain things we don't know about politics and other related issues. So thanks for coming on the podcast. Charlie, thanks. And everybody, all my guests who came through this year, God bless you all. And next year to be better. Bye.
Bye.